Most people chase success their whole life, the money, the title, and the applauses. But very few stop to ask what that cost. Today's guest had everything the world celebrates: a powerful career, a recognition, and influence. But she made a choice most people are afraid to make. She chose her energy over expectations. Welcome to Magnetic Women Monday. I am speaking with Suzanne Treadgold, high performance coach, TEDx speaker, a best selling author, a woman who teaches leaders how to rise without burning out in the process. This conversation will shift how you think about confidence, presence, and the life you are building. So let's begin. Suzanne, thank you so much for joining us on Magnetic Women Monday. I'm so honored to welcome you to our show today.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Ankita.
Yeah, you're most welcome. So, Suzanne, let's start from the beginning. When you were living the life most people actually dream of, you had everything people chase: the career, the recognition, the success. What was the exact moment you realized that this version of success is actually draining you?
Hmm. I don't know if it was an exact moment that I noticed. I mean, I think the change was forced upon me, really. And that was amazing. We had the crash in 2008, and I was on maternity leave, and I was having to come back and make people in my team redundant. And it got to the point, I was working in a large bank, and it got to the point that, 80% of my team was gone. The share price had gone from $55 down to 90 cents. And they did a company-wide initiative uh, offering, people a generous package if they put their hand up. And otherwise it was going to be the statutory minimum. So just I said, pick me. And when I left, I had started an executive coaching diploma while I was in banking. It was funny. My boss at the end of one year, he was like, Susan, so what are your training and development needs for this year? And I said, Richard, I'd rather stick needles in my eyes than do another options or derivatives course. And he said, okay. And he's like, well, what would you like to do? And I said, I'd like to do a master's in corporate and executive coaching. And it was sort of a drop mic moment. And he said, well, no one's ever asked for that before. Like, what's the business need? And I said, well, I think, I have a big team. It'll make me a better leader. And he says, okay, well, if you think you have time. And Ankita, I did not have time. So I finished most of it, but everything but the dissertation. So when I left the bank, I was still planning to continue doing what I was doing. Um, but I finished my dissertation, and the first bank that I interviewed said, "Well, what have you been doing since you left your role?" And I said, "Well, funny you should ask, but I just, finished my master's in corporate and executive coaching." And they said, "Well, we need a coach." And I said, "Shut the door." And, they said, "Yes." And so I ended up getting my first job in executive coaching before I even had a business card or a website. And it felt like it was like divine intervention. Like, that it wasn't like pushing water uphill, and it felt like it was the right move to make. And while the crash of 2008 happened, I was coincidentally also on maternity leave. So
Mhm.
my perspectives were switching. I had a baby son, and if I was going to go back and continue to work like I had been that meant I would be getting up before he woke up. I'd be getting home after he had gone to bed, and I would be traveling 2 weekends out of the month. So I would see my new child 2 weekends out of the month. I mean, it was insane. There was no way. So when you're talking about a turning point, it was like this confluence of events that really, started my change.
Oh. Wow, this was such a powerful story. I can say that it was divinely aligned. So, while you switched from this place, what was your mindset? What was going on in your mind? Your plan, how you're going to approach everything, and then starting a coaching business altogether after coming out here. So, do you want to share a little bit?
Yeah, so I, to be honest, unlike a lot of people, I had a little bit of a cushion because of the package that I got from the bank. So my approach was that I was just going to go all in, see how it worked out, and if all else failed, I could return. But what I really found while I was on maternity leave is it really having that time and space. And I was working in London at the time, so I got 6 months maternity leave. So it was a substantial amount of time to really reflect. And I realized how stressed I was and how unaligned I was with what I was doing. I mean, the actual job itself, but the company I was working at, the environment was quite toxic. It gave me a lot of time to reflect. And so I just thought this is perfect. This is an opportunity to completely redirect. And so I just went all in. I think there's one thing that helps is if you can do public speaking. And in my role in banking, I did a lot of public speaking, and I also was a member of Toastmasters. And so I used that skill, which I had brought up, that I had created over a number of years, and I still continue to create uh, and develop that skill. I use that. I use my connections to speak at as many events as I could to
Mhm.
develop my business and develop my role and to change my identity. I mean, mind you, that was, 16, 17 years ago. And if I were to do it again, I would definitely be using video in social media and speaking as much as possible to
Right.
because um to people to work with people, they really need to know, like, and trust you. And one mentor of mine had said that you need to have 6 hours of consumable content online for people to feel like they know, like, and trust you, be it your website, be it videos, be it recordings of interviews, like all of your digital assets, 6 hours of being able to consume you and research you. So people feel like, oh, I know who she is. I know what she's about. I trust her. I like her.
Okay. So, you often talk about exponential energy. What does that actually mean?
Well, our time is finite,
Mm-hmm.
but our energy is limitless.
Right.
So I like to work with that end of the equation. People always say they have too much to do and not enough time,
Right.
but energy multiplies things and it allows you to get so much more done. And if you are on purpose and your energy is aligned, you are unstoppable. In
Mm-hmm.
my experience, everybody has energy leaks. And
Right.
to make it something less woo-woo, I created something called the energy wheel.
Okay.
And you can use that to assess where you get your energy from, like what
Mhm.
fills up your cup or fills up your tire. I often call it an energy tire or energy wheel, and what drains it. So I looked at 6 different areas of energy.
Okay.
So there is the foundational energy. That is, you know, no amount of energy from the other areas can make up for what I call foundation energy, which is the air, food, water, light, sleep supplements we put into our body.
Right.
It is really that nutritional component. It is whether you're putting toxic food in your body, whether you're getting sunlight, whether you're breathing the air that you're putting into your body, the sleep, people are chronically sleep deprived, all of that. That's what your foundation is.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a leak there in hydration as well? So do you, you know, uh, is there a leak there that you can plug up? That's the first one I like to look at. Then there is mind energy. The thoughts you think, the images you visualize. Our thoughts create our emotions, and our emotions create our experience of life. And our thoughts can be very habitual. And noticing what your thoughts are. Are you, they are mostly negative. So acknowledging what those negative thoughts are and the questions that you asked yourself, like, why did you do that? What were you thinking? These, what if X happens, which is usually a worry. The what ifs are usually taking our mind in a negative direction. So creating some different words on our mental dashboard that will direct the mind in a positive direction. Like, what's the best thing that could happen today? What am I grateful for today? Um, what if it's a smashing success? What if there were no limits? I mean, just having some different questions to go to,
Mm-hmm.
and direct the mind differently. Then there is connection energy. First, having an awareness whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, because too much interaction for an introvert is very draining.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And not enough for an extrovert if they're working on their own. That can be very draining. So having that awareness, and then how you interact and communicate with others. I mean, that could be a lifelong learning, really, our communication skills, how we treat others, how we respond to criticism, how we give feedback. All of these things can create energy between you and the people around you. So understanding, if are you surrounded by energy angels or energy vampires? Who are the people that you're interacting with most? And do you notice that you're drained after interacting with them, or whether you're uplifted? So that's another area. Then we have what I call pause energy. Are you integrating breaks with mindfulness, meditation, uh, just moments of nothing? Because we need those spaces. I mean, we need that quiet to settle our system. I mean, we're so much in fight or flight, and having that pause, that unplugging for your devices, just taking a moment, even just to stare out the window into nature. So the pause, the energy you get from that. Then we have the space energy, and that's the sights, sounds, and smells, as well as the ergonomics of your environment. Uh, are you wearing polyester every day, toxic clothing, which is an endocrine disruptor? Do you have an uncomfortable chair, shoes that pinch, a bra that pinches? I mean, do you have an uninspiring environment that you're looking at? So there's science showing that people in hospitals that have a view on nature heal more quickly. So thinking about your space, the sights, sounds, smells, and ergonomics, even your bed, you spend a third of your life in there. Is your bed comfortable? Um, then we have move energy. And that is not only the exercise you take or don't, it's also your body language, your posture, your facial expressions. Uh, all of those. There was a great TED talk by Dr. Amy Cuddy from Harvard, and she found hormonal changes when we have an open body and good posture. and we have expansive body language. You get that a lot from a lot of yoga poses, like the warrior one, warrior two.
Mm.
You're expanding the body, opening it up. It signals to your body to lower cholesterol, the stress hormone, and increase testosterone, which is associated with confidence and energy. So being aware, like, are you like
Right.
this, looking down, move, or are you expansive and
Thanks.
open? Yeah, so that's I have people, assess what is their score on a scale of 1 to 10 in each of those areas.
Right.
And people usually have a go-to area,
Oh.
a go-to area. Like some people, they're exhausted. They might be their go-to area to re-energize might be connection energy. They might like, oh, I'm gonna go have a coffee or a hug from a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where others they might go to move energy, like I'm gonna go for a run.
Right.
Or others, it might be I'm gonna have a healthy green smoothie and go to bed early. So everybody has a go-to area, and then most people have a leak somewhere, and it's bringing attention to that. And what are some micro habits that you can create to start plugging up that leak?
Oh, wow. That's so detailed. So knowing yourself inside out, where you're actually, wasting your energy and not using it in a productive way. So maybe I'll start using this thing to notice like where I am draining it out knowingly, unknowingly. So it's very, very powerful. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, I like when I work with clients to help them create their own energy blueprint and
Oh,
to actually track it. Like look at
wow.
the different areas and have like a little spreadsheet or that they can keep near them. And, maybe their first, one of the things might be to to maybe commit to going to bed and getting 8 hours sleep.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not doing it ever, to maybe start with 3 days a week, but actually to track it and then start to see how their energy changes.
Right. But then this requires so much of presence of mind. You have to make sure that you are checking it on a regular basis. And you sometimes there are areas where you are so laid back that you have to push yourself. No, I have to do this. I have to follow this chart. So,
Well, it's I don't like to create overwhelm. So
mhm,
I always like to start with one thing and then add on to it. And habit stacking is a very powerful way of doing that. Instead
right.
of trying to add something in completely separately. I think that's
Mhm,
why a lot of people fail to go to the gym because it means that they have to actually do a lot of actions. They have to get dressed, get in their car or mode of transport, go to the gym and do it. Whereas, if your goal is to have more movement, maybe you're walking, like I used to walk my children to school, and there was a golf course next to the school. So I stacked the habit of more movement on top of walking them to school. So I would just keep walking. I
oh,
didn't have to have a completely new, it was adding it on to something I was already doing.
right. Okay.
Or like while you're brushing your teeth, like I'm going to do some affirmations or I'm going to ask myself these positive questions on my mental dashboard, like what would make today great? And
Hmm.
just make that a habit of adding it on to your brushing your teeth.
Right.
So,
That will make it easier for everyone to follow it instead of like thinking about it. Oh, I have to do this. I have to do this. So you have to remember it and then you have to do it. So I know
right,
I actually tried changing two or three habits of mine and I was like, I have to remember it. And that became so hard. And then when I went over a few books, I was like, no, this is not going to work. I actually have to start something which can be a complement to something that I'm doing it. So,
right, exactly.
mhm. So, in terms of you have trained so many executives on presence, confidence, and leadership. These are the skills like people spend years trying to master. So, what's one subtle body language or energy signal or any invisible trait that instantly um, changes how others respond to you, especially in the high stake situation?
Speed.
Speed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If you think about people with strong presence, executive presence, they do not move. And we take this even from the animal kingdom, the alpha animals. You think about lions, bears, elephants, gorillas. Do they move quickly? Do they scurry? No.
No.
They move slow. And then you transfer this to humans. It's the same. Think about the queen or the king. Do they rush around, scurry? Do they speak quickly? Think about Martin Luther King's speech, I Had a Dream.
Hmm.
He spoke with pretty much, I went through his speech. He had no more than 6 or 7 words per sentence. Can you imagine if he said, "I had the dream that on the, that sons of slaveholders and
Yeah, yeah,
will
yeah,
sit down
true.
and
Yeah.
wouldn't have the same impact."
Impact, yes.
So the move, the first indicator of executive presence and status is it's subliminally built into us. And so if the person is taking up space and taking their time, that is the biggest indicator of executive presence.
Wow. Okay. That's the that's the very first time I've heard something like that. Wow. Okay.
Think
Um,
about it.
yeah,
You think
no, yeah.
about it.
I'm thinking, yeah, that's what I'm trying to relate. It's
Do you
so,
see presidents running in and scurrying and
no, no.
speaking super quickly?
Yeah. When I was a kid, like I used to pause, just wanted to hear what person is speaking because they were so clear, such like short, but then clear about their message. It just goes into your mind and it brings a huge impact instead of like, you're saying so many things, but then nothing is going inside. So,
Yeah, our auditory processing isn't as quick.
yes.
So if you speak more slowly, people can take it in better. Subliminally, they'll want to because animals that scurry and move quickly, they're trying to get in and out and not be eaten.
Hmm.
So they're not conveying power and being in charge. They're conveying fear.
Right.
And it's hard to follow somebody who is in fear. Like people
Hmm.
that are afraid of public speaking, excuse me, they'll often go up there and they'll speak as quickly as possible just to get in and out and not get eaten, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, do you have any method that our audience can cultivate that within them? Any anything that any tip you have?
Well, it is being aware of that sentence structure. The optimal comprehension when speaking is 6 to 7 words per minute. So often, if people write their speeches, written language and spoken language is very different. And being aware to pause, even if it's a longer sentence, like I'm doing right now, you can pause in between
Mm-hmm.
and then continue.
Right.
So
Okay.
that is a tip.
Okay. Okay. That's such a small shift, but then can create a massive influence for sure. So, most people believe that productivity is about doing more. So, what's the biggest myth about productivity that keeps high performer from reaching their potential?
I think productivity really should be measured on impact. And I think probably the biggest things in life are our relationships, um, our work, and our health. And I use that. My definition of success is being and high performing and productive is being joyful, confident, and fully engaged in my work, my
Mhm.
relationships, and health with strategies in place to consistently live for my best self. So when I'm looking, you have to have some sort of, you really have to have an understanding of your values and what matters to you, and seeing whether you are getting the right things done. It's easy to look at a to-do list. So one of the things that I've shifted for my productivity is I have 3 to-do lists. And this is kind of like a version of what David Allen of Getting Things Done does. But I work from 3 lists. And what I know is when I have a ton of things on, if I look at one list and see everything I have to do, the first thing I do is I get overwhelmed. I'm like, oh my God, I can't do it all. There's no
Yeah.
way I can do it all.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing I do is I pick off the easiest things to make it feel like I've made progress.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what I've changed is I have one list now that
Mm-hmm.
has everything, and I call it the someday maybe list.
Okay.
It has everything in it. It may have some big projects. It's a place to capture everything and get it out of my head,
Mm-hmm.
because our brains were not like, they're a bit like when we have too many tabs open. We can't have all that working RAM. We got to push it, we got to put it someplace. So if we're trying to carry everything around in our brain, what we need to do, I got to do that. I got to, it just crashes us.
Right.
So put everything on that someday maybe list.
Mm-hmm.
And then I choose the things that I ideally want to get done that week. So I will put it on this week. And,
Okay.
I'll have a week list and the things that really need to get done that week. And then from that week list, each day, I will start my day with the 5 things that I need to get done come hell or high water. It may be specific deadlines that day or meetings that I'm having, but then it is also breaking down maybe some of the projects from the someday maybe
Mm-hmm.
and just making the next action, which is why uh, yeah. So that is what I took from that training. And once I've done those 5 things, if I have more time, then I go back to the week and I look what the next action is that I can pull onto it. But then I'm only looking at those 5 things. So I'm not distracted by, and I know that those are important things that are moving my big goals in life forward or honoring my values. So that's what I do. And every Sunday, I do a Sunday review
Mm-hmm.
and figure out what from the someday maybe needs to be moving forward. And on someday maybe, sometimes it's someone tells me, "Oh, you should read this book." I put it on the someday maybe list.
Okay.
Um, and just so it's there, I'm like, "Oh, I
Mm-hmm.
remembered it. It's captured. It's someplace." But
Yes.
it's not like looking at
Priority.
me. I'm not looking at it every day, and then I'm not tempted, "Oh, I got to buy it right now," because then I'll tick something off my list.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
then I may be coming to the point that I'm going on vacation. I'm like, oh, look at all these book recommendations. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to order a couple of them now and I'm going to take them on vacation. I'll have some time to read.
Right. That's a very good idea. Yeah, love it. Love how you flip the traditional idea of like working hard and then thinking about the things that you have to do, you have to do, you have to do, and then draining yourself into working in a smarter way and then making sure that you have a list. But that's not one list, which is just a priority list, but then you have 2 lists with you. One is just everything there, but then you switch on the daily basis and see that what is the priority for today, for this week. So yeah, that's amazing.
Yes, or else you get caught in reaction mode. And I find that the first, not going on your phone first thing in the morning and really thinking, or what are the 5 things that, I need to get done today that are going to move the needle forward in the areas that matter to me, in my
Hmm.
family and my health. in my
Okay.
work. Yeah.
Okay. So that brings a complete balance, like you have touched upon every aspect. Yeah. Oh, beautiful. So this is out of very curiosity and something I actually wanted to know. Many women actually feel that their ideas aren't being heard, and even the idea is brilliant, but then they still feel that they are not being heard or they are not being acknowledged. How can they change the way they present themselves so others immediately believe in them and not only on the concept that they are sharing?
Well, there's one thing that they can do
Mhm.
is that they can have somebody who is tag teaming with them. So if there has been a history of speaking and then being disregarded, or maybe somebody else taking credit for what you said, is that you have somebody, an ally, creating an ally who will repeat it and say, yes, that's a great idea that Ankita just shared. And I love that that you are in agreement,
Mhm.
or something to repeat that and edify. You can create an ally that you can do that for each other. And we can also get back to executive presence. Are you taking up space? I often see um, women more often than men shrinking themselves down. When we're at a table, they will push themselves away from the table, cross their legs, and maybe put a book on their lap and take notes in a team meeting, as opposed to sitting up, being there and giving themselves wings. What I mean by wings is not having their arms crushed right next to their sides, because that's usually when we're guarding our bodily organs. We're in fear, we're making ourselves small. So, like putting their forearms on the table, being in the meeting, it'll also help them get heard more quickly. Because if you're like that, you can just go like with your hand, like just on that point, and you can add your 2 cents. You can make yourself heard more
Mhm.
quickly. And when you are being interrupted, and this has to be done really well because tone will matter. But if
Mhm.
you start talking and someone starts, this is actually, um, what is her name? She was a former Secretary of State in the US, Madeleine Albright.
Okay.
She said one of the most important things was making it was learning how to interrupt and not be interrupted.
Oh.
And learning how to interrupt was being in that meeting and being able to interject quickly. If
Mhm.
you're sitting back and taking yourself out of the meeting, you're all crossed up and taking notes, you're not going to be able to interject quickly. The
Mhm.
other thing is when somebody talks over you, you do not make eye contact with them, because that gives them the floor. And if you hear someone start talking, you just like, I haven't finished yet. And you just quickly put up your hand,
Mhm.
not like staring at them. I'm not done yet. I
Yeah.
mean, that is something different. But as you're talking, you're just like, I'm not finished yet, and just keep going and going and going. And it's just a very slight, soft way of keeping people from interrupting you.
Mhm. Wow, this is so informative. Can't say. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Yeah. So I
And
have.
you also have to um, use that judiciously. I
Okay.
mean, if it's your boss,
Mhm.
you may choose not to do that. But if
Mhm.
it's somebody else that is wanting to do that in a team
Right.
meeting,
Mhm.
that's what you would do.
Yeah, you have to use your discretion and not use the same thing everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mhm. So I have seen high performers experience burnout and come back even stronger. That's what like I've seen in movies, I've seen in books that I have read. So What's one story you have seen that proves burnout can be a beginning and it's not the end?
Um, relationships. I think that that's one of the things that weighs on people a lot. So the relationship with their boss, the relationship with their children, the relationship with their spouse. Um, if those things are in conflict, that can be immensely draining.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding, is this a boss I need to leave? Is this a job I need to leave? Is this a marriage I need to leave? Um, Understanding first whether the strategy that you can do with your connection energy is first understand that you cannot change other people and that the only thing you have agency over is your own thoughts and images and actions. And focus on fixing yourself first, choosing different options. I mean, that's one of the things that the most successful in people um, realize that there are limitless options. Uh, Unsuccessful people think there are two or three options and that they therefore have tried everything.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing first is to consider that you can change all of the ways that you show up and try different things and change your way of communicating, maybe your timing of communicating, maybe your tone of communicating, um, all of those things first. And then it's making a decision whether even that is taking too much energy. And, they say that the boss determines most of any relationship, the quality of your um, experience of your job.
Mm-hmm.
So it's usually the main reason that people leave a job. So being aware of that, thinking, but I think owning it first. I've had a lot of clients that were really upset with their boss, and um, they'll say, "Oh, my boss never gives me any feedback." And like, okay, well, let's flip that. You can't control them, but you can control yourself.
Right.
So maybe you start a habit of every Friday just saying, just wanted to let you know some of the wins that I've had this week to keep you in the loop.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very hard for someone not to respond to that.
Yes.
So you're starting to own your feedback. Instead of always looking for the other person to change, make sure that you have made the changes yourself first and recognized your own agency.
Mm-hmm.
People can't make you feel anything. It's always a choice.
Always.
You know, if I told you you had blue hair, that probably wouldn't make you sad because you don't have blue hair. You would just look at me and say, Susan, you are colorblind or crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so if someone says you're an awful interviewer, which of course you're not, you can say, well, they're having a bad day, or they're you choose whether you take that on or not.
Right. Yeah. So it's all our choice how we want to look ourselves. Yeah. So I've heard that you have written few books. Do you want to talk a little bit about it? And also, what kind of discipline you require to write a book? A little bit, I want to know.
Dipped my toe in it initially. I wrote I co-authored two books, Success University for Women and Success University for Women in Business. So I co-authored first, and then I wrote my own book, which was called The High Performing Woman, 52 Take Action Tips for Greater Confidence, Energy, and Impact. And so I had started a blog called Take Action Tuesday Tips, and I still have that. I mean, people can, if anybody wants to subscribe to it, they're welcome. I just write one personal or professional development tip each week, and that goes out to my email list.
Okay.
And I noticed that over the years, people kept saying, "Oh, you must put these all together in a book. You know, you have to
Oh,
do this." And so many people told me that. I thought, okay, maybe I will. And
mhm.
what I did is I looked at uh, the tips that got the most engagement, the people that responded and say, "Oh, this was really thought provoking," or, "Oh, you know, I did this and this happened. Thank you so much." So I looked at the 52 tips out of that 5-year period that had been most impactful for people, and I put them together into a book. So it's an easy read book. You can dip in and dip out. And at the beginning of it as well, I also explain my energy wheel that I shared with you at the beginning of the interview, and and to really explained it more in depth, and also gave some prompts for people to make some changes at the end of each of those chapters. So I open up with the energy wheel, and then I go into take action tips, and I also have them referenced by energy. Like, so uh, you can actually look in the book and see, okay, well, which one, you know, it's going to help me in the different ways. So yeah, that's that was
Okay.
my book, and that's how I ended up doing it. Obviously, other people can approach books different ways. I think everybody has a message that they like to share, but that's how I created my book.
Wow, wonderful. Thank you for sharing. So, little bit about yourself. You juggle between multiple roles as a mother, artist, coach, entrepreneur. On the days when you're completely drained out, what do you tell yourself to keep showing up with the energy? And also, do you have any personal story that you have overcome and then got into the place where now you started your life in the way that you actually wanted to? So, just wanted to try to understand how you balance everything through your story.
Yeah, I mean, so through the investment banking, I became burnt out. And, shortly after starting my coaching, I found that I had um, breast cancer, and it had been growing for like 10 years. Um, and I, I just really created that energy wheel for myself. I went on a big exploratory journey and really reevaluated everything. And that is really how I healed, from my mindset, from my relationships. Obviously, diet and movement, that was huge. I'm in California now. I was in London at the time. I'm in California now, and Southern California, which is really the home of biohacking and cutting edge healthcare. And so I do some things that other people may think is really radical, but I'm very practical. Like for my movement, I mean, they have, there's been research studies showing that rebounding, jumping on a mini trampoline is the best exercise for women. And
Okay.
so I have a little mini trampoline, just outside of my terrace, outside from where we speak. And I go bounce for 5 minutes in between my Zoom calls. And I find that very energizing. And meditation and finding, I have a lot of biohacking tools. There are things that, like, this is called a brain tap, and it is a brain entrainment device, which really helps with meditation. I
Mhm.
have a very busy mind. I'm very extroverted, and to calm down and to get into those relaxed theta states, I find this really helps. It has it is like 5 different modalities all combined in one. It's red and blue light therapy, um, uh, binaural beats, isochronic tones, holographic music, and guided visualization. So there's about 2,000 or 3,000 programs connected to an app, and you can either play a behavioral change program like improve your mindset, or you can actually play a sound or music that will help induce one of the 5 main brain states, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, theta. So if you want to sleep, it'll help induce delta waves to help you sleep, or if you want to relax, theta. So being open to trying new tools and investigating, what is out there, I've spent a ton of time on that.
Oh, I'm going to try it too. It sounds amazing. So, finally, I want to leave our audience with something truly actionable. For anyone watching who feels stuck or small right now, what is your message to them?
Everybody is different and they're feeling stuck or small for a different reason. And I think it goes back to the energy. So, really, where is the energy leak? Is it the stinking thinking? Is it the fact that they're not moving? Sitting is the new smoking? Are they sitting at their desk all day? Do they need to get out and just go for a walk? I mean, we have this mind-body connection. If nothing else, stand up straight, smile, and expand your body. I mean, and look up. Where our body is connected, our sorrowful emotions are connected with looking down. That's why people, when they're trying to not cry, they look up. They go like that, because looking up is associated with positivity and energy. So change your posture, change your life. Smile, sit up, open your body, and move. Go for a walk. That would be my first intervention.
Wow. Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you so much for sharing your journey, your wisdom, and all these practical strategies with us. Thank you for your time.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
If you're listening to this and you have been feeling tired, overwhelmed, or like you are giving your all and it's still not enough, I just want to say this. You're not behind, you're not failing. You are just drained and you deserve to feel like you again. You don't need to change your whole life this week. Just make one small shift that gives you your energy back. One boundary, one breathe, one pause, one step. Because when your energy comes back, your confidence comes back. And when your confidence comes back, your life starts to move again. So take that one step today and come back next week, because here we grow together. I'm Ankita Pandey. This is Magnetic Women Monday. Until next time, stay magnetic.